For ancient Egyptians, the sun wasn't just, a light in the sky. It was, well, everything. The source of warmth, growth, the very pulse of life in their world.
Absolutely. It makes perfect sense they saw it not just as a big hot thing up there, but as a divine force, the ultimate creator.
And if you wanted to name that force, that supreme power, the name you'd hear most often is Ra.
Ra, often called the king of the gods, the original creator figure.
Yeah, exactly. And we've got a fantastic stack of sources here for this deep dive, detailed encyclopedic entries, insights from places like Ancient Egypt Online, even a script excerpt from a documentary gives us a really rounded view.
Right. So our mission really is to sift through all this amazing information and pull out the key insights. We want to understand who Ra truly was, why he mattered so much.
And find those surprising stories, those facts about his mythology that maybe give us a window into how they actually thought.
It's a journey into a figure who was, let's face it, complex, multifaceted, and totally central to their whole worldview.
Okay, let's unpack this then. At his absolute core, who was Ra for the Egyptians?
He was the god of the sun, yeah, but specifically he was identified with the noonday sun, the peak, the most powerful part.
But not just the sun god. You said king of the gods.
King of the gods, ruler of the sky, the earth, and the underworld. He covered all the bases, you could say.
And creator. What does that actually mean in their mythology? Did he just start things off, or did he physically make everything?
The belief was he was the absolute origin. You have to picture the time before time, this dark, swirling, infinite chaos of water called none.
Okay, primordial chaos.
Exactly. And from that chaos, the story goes, a mound rose up, the first bit of land, the Ben-Ben.
And Ra comes from this mound.
Right. He emerges from the Ben-Ben. Sometimes the myth gets specific, says he came from a lotus flower that bloomed right there on the mound.
Now, this is where it gets really interesting for me. Unlike other gods who might be born or created in some way, Ra supposedly just willed himself into existence.
Yeah, he just was. Emerged from nothingness, essentially. It's a powerful idea.
A god who doesn't need parents, the source itself.
But, the sources also hint at this little mystery. Was he truly self-created? Or was there maybe some older, unknowable force within none that kind of sparked his emergence?
So even they were wrestling with these ultimate origin questions.
Seems like it. It shows a certain theological depth, doesn't it?
And the why of worshiping the sun becomes so obvious when you think about Egypt, right? The sun was life.
It ripened the crops they depended on, gave warmth, made everything grow. Ra wasn't just like life and warmth, he was the divine form of it.
So he emerges, the first being, the source. What's next for a creator god?
We'll create more, right. He starts creating the rest of existence, beginning with other gods.
And in some versions, he basically creates almost the entire pantheon.
Pretty much. He first brings forth Shu, the god of air, and Tefnut, the goddess of moisture.
And these weren't just like air and water gods.
No, they were more fundamental. Shu represented life itself, and Tefnut represented Ma'at, cosmic order, justice, truth, foundational principles.
Okay. And Shu and Tefnut then produce Geb, the earth, and Nut, the sky.
Right. That's your core group, the Ennead of Heliopolis, Ra's main city.
And the family tree keeps growing.
It does. There's the story where Nut couldn't give birth on any day of the regular year, so Thoth, the god of wisdom, plays games with the moon god and wins 5 extra days.
The epigomenal days added to the end of the year.
Exactly. And on those 5 days, Nut gives birth to Osiris, Set, Isis, Nephthys, and Horus the Elder, all absolutely crucial figures. So Ra is the ultimate ancestor, the great-grandfather.
Wow. And the connection to humans is even more direct.
Very direct. There's this striking belief that humans were actually created from Ra's tears and his sweat.
Tears and sweat. That's incredibly specific.
It is. I mean, it's why Egyptians sometimes called themselves the cattle of Ra. It suggests this really intimate, almost parental link. They came from his divine substance.
So not just creations, but almost extensions of him. Ties humanity right into the divine source.
Definitely emphasizes their dependence, maybe even their inherent sacredness.
Okay, so Ra creates the world, sets up the gods and principles.
Right.
But his job wasn't finished, right? It was an ongoing thing.
Oh, absolutely. A constant daily effort. His main role was traveling the cosmos every single day.
This is his famous journey across the sky.
Right. He sailed in his divine boats. The Manjet was the morning boat, carrying him from sunrise to noon.
And then, as the sun started to go down,
he'd switch over to the Mesektet, the evening boat, for the journey from noon to sunset.
And at sunset, he didn't just disappear. He went somewhere.
He passed through the western horizon, the Akhet, sometimes shown as an actual gate, and entered the underworld, the Duat.
The Duat. The nighttime journey sounds pretty intense.
Oh, it was incredibly dangerous.
Yeah.
He had to navigate this sort of subterranean Nile River, passing through 12 different regions or gates, one for each hour of the night.
And he changed during this journey, too.
Yes. While he was on the Mesektet down in the underworld, Ra often took on his ram-headed form. That's where you most often see him depicted that way.
The Ram of the West, symbolizing his connection to the dead.
And the mysteries of night, yeah, a different aspect of his power for that realm.
And the big danger during this journey, the main antagonist.
That would be Apep, or Apophis, as the Greeks
Yeah.
called him. This enormous serpent, the embodiment of chaos,
Is Fet. Chaos. And Apep just wanted to stop Ra.
Stop him cold, swallow the sunboat, plunge everything back into eternal darkness and chaos. Total cosmic disruption was his goal.
So every single night there's this epic battle.
Every night, a constant struggle to maintain Mayat, order, against Apep's Isfet, chaos.
Did Ra fight alone?
No, thankfully. He had a loyal crew on the Mesektet, gods like Sia for perception, Hu for command, Heka for magic power.
Powerful allies.
And interestingly, even Set, who's often the god of chaos himself in other stories, sometimes helped Ra fight off Apep, used his strength to spear the serpent, and another god, Mehen, coiled around Ra for protection.
And the victory comes with...
Dawn. Ra emerges victorious from the underworld in the east, lighting the world again.
So sunrise wasn't just sunrise, it was rebirth.
Exactly. The rebirth of the sun god himself. It powerfully reinforced Ra's role as creator and linked him directly to ideas of renewal, rebirth, the whole cycle of existence.
There's also that fascinating myth, the one where the sky goddess Nut swallows Ra every evening.
And then gives birth to him again each morning. Yeah.
So she's his granddaughter and his mother. How does that work?
Well, it shows Egyptian mythology wasn't always about strict logic like we think of it. It used powerful images to express different truths. The sky receives the sun, the sky gives birth to the sun. It's metaphorical.
And there's a connection to the afterlife and all this too, right, with Osiris?
A deep connection. While Ra was in the underworld at night, he was thought to actually merge with Osiris, the god of the dead.
Merging the sun's cycle with the cycle of death and rebirth.
Precisely. The sun's journey through the night became a symbol of hope, traversing the realm of the dead but promising resurrection at dawn, just like Osiris represented resurrection for humans in the afterlife. It's a really potent image of eternal renewal.
Okay, moving from his journey to how he actually looked. Ra had a lot of different forms, didn't he? Not just one standard image.
That's right. His iconography is incredibly varied. The one you probably picture most often is the man with the falcon's head.
With the sun disk on top and the cobra, the uraeus, wrapped around it.
Exactly. That falcon look connects him to Horus, the sky god, shows that solar and sky power link.
But then there's the beetle head, too. Khepri.
Yes, Khepri, the scarab beetle who rolls the sun disk up at dawn. That's Ra in his morning aspect.
And the ram head for his underworld journey, his evening or night form.
Right. And beyond those, the texts and art show him as a full ram, a beetle, a phoenix, heron, serpent, bull, cat, even a lion.
Wow. So many forms. What does that tell us?
It suggests they saw divinity as really dynamic. Ra could manifest in countless ways depending on what aspect they were focused on, time of day, specific power, maybe local traditions.
And sometimes he didn't just change form, he actually merged with other major gods.
Exactly. These syncretic forms, these fusions, are really important. They show how widespread his worship was and how adaptable he was, integrating with other powerful deities.
Like Ra-Horakhty.
Ra-Horakhty. Ra, who is Horus of the two horizons. It strongly links Ra with Horus's sunrise-sunset aspect.
Representing the whole journey, maybe. Horizon to horizon.
That's one interpretation,
Yeah.
symbolizing continuity, rebirth. He's really important in texts like the Book of the Dead, often shown as that falcon with the sun disk.
And then there's the really big one, Amun-Ra.
Huge, especially in the New Kingdom. Amun started more local, god of wind, patron of Thebes. But when Thebes became the capital, Amun's power soared.
So merging him with Ra created this powerhouse state deity.
The ultimate solar creator god, Amun-Ra was often called king of the gods, taking Ra's title and giving it the immense backing of the Theban priesthood and royalty. Depictions vary, sometimes like Amun but with a sun disk, sometimes as a unique lion-headed figure.
Atum-Ra. Merging with the older Heliopolis creator god.
Yes, Atum-Ra. This explicitly links Ra back to that very first moment of creation out of none, anchors his primordial status.
We already mentioned Khepri is the morning form and Khnum, the ram god. sometimes seen as his evening form.
Right. There's also Montu Ra, merging with Montu, an ancient war god linked to the sun's scorching heat, perhaps symbolizing kingship or the sun's fierceness.
And even a female version.
Ra-Horakhty.
Ra-Horakhty, yeah. A female aspect, sometimes called his wife or daughter, but honestly, she didn't really gain much importance on her own.
All these forms, all these mergers. It feels very complex theologically.
It is. It tells us their understanding of God wasn't rigid. It was fluid, layered, different names for different aspects, or maybe deeper truths about the unity behind the diversity. It hints at a very sophisticated way of thinking about the divine.
And this influence is crystal clear when you look at the history of Ra's worship, and especially his connection to the pharaohs.
Ra shows up early, Second Dynasty texts mention him, but by the Fifth Dynasty, his importance just explodes. And his main cult center, Heliopolis Sun City, that must have been ground zero.
Absolutely central. That's where he was identified with Adam, and crucially, it was believed to be the actual spot where the Ben Mound first rose, the place where Ra emerged. Sacred ground.
And the link to the pharaohs really solidifies in that Fifth Dynasty period.
This is fundamental. Pharaohs started being seen not just as chosen by Ra, but as his actual living embodiments on Earth. They were called sons of Ra.
That's more than just a title. That's the basis of their rule.
Totally. It was divine right. Their legitimacy flowed directly from Ra, the first king of Egypt. They were his descendants, his successors.
And they advertised this connection everywhere.
Oh, yes. Ra's name became part of the official throne name of every single king from the Fifth Dynasty right through to the end. You see it in their cartouches.
And they built things for him. Pyramids, obelisks, solar temples.
Yes, huge construction projects. Pyramids aligned to the sun, towering obelisks reaching for him, and these unique solar temples.
What was different about a solar temple?
Unlike other temples that housed a statue of the god inside a dark shrine, solar temples were open air. They didn't need an idol because the god's presence was the sunlight itself.
Ah, okay. So the focus was different.
Right. Usually centered on a massive obelisk and an altar, designed to directly interact with and honor the sun god. The architecture itself tells you how they conceived of his presence as a natural force, not just an image.
And Ra's role continued into the pharaoh's afterlife journey, too.
Increasingly important over time, you see him prominently in the pyramid texts of the Old Kingdom, and his journey through the underworld becomes a central theme in the incredibly detailed New Kingdom tomb paintings, like in the Valley of the Kings, guiding the king's soul.
His popularity waxed and waned a bit, but he stayed important. Middle Kingdom, New Kingdom.
Definitely. In the Middle Kingdom, often linked or combined with rising stars like Amun or the ever-present Osiris, New Kingdom saw huge, grand worship, but also theological tensions, attempts to elevate Ra versus Amun, and of course, Akhenaten's radical Etanism, which sort of spun out of Ra worship.
He even lasted into the Greek period, associated with Zeus.
Yeah, which shows his enduring power as a concept. Though eventually, with the rise of Christianity in the Roman Empire, his formal worship did fade, like the rest of the old religion.
Okay, beyond the big picture, the myths about Ra's relationships and specific deeds really brought him to life, sometimes showing a fiercer side.
Right. We know he created many gods, but certain relationships, especially with goddesses tied to the Eye of Ra, show different facets of his power.
The Eye of Ra, this wasn't just his literal eye, was it? It was like a separate force.
Exactly. A powerful, often fierce, independent entity. Ra would send it out to enforce his will, often to punish enemies, or sometimes humanity itself. It represents his power unleashed, that destructive potential balancing the life-giving sun.
So who are these eye goddesses?
Several key ones. Bastet, the cat goddess, is sometimes called the cat of Ra and linked to the eye. There's even a myth where she, as a lioness, decapitates Apep.
Wow. And Sekhmet, the lioness goddess. She seems like a prime candidate for the fierce eye.
Absolutely. She's often explicitly the instrument of Ra's vengeance.
Is that the story where she nearly wipes out humanity?
That's the one. Her rage is so intense, Ra has to trick her. He dyes beer red to look like blood. She drinks it, gets drunk, and calms down, transforming into the gentler goddess Hathor.
Hathor. She's also linked to the Eye of Ra, then. She was Sekhmet in that story.
Yes, she embodies both the destructive and the nurturing aspects. Hathor has a really close, complex bond with Ra. There's a myth where she dances to cheer him up when he's sulking, shows her influence over him.
And that title, Kamutef, bull of his mother, linking Ra and Hathor as son and husband.
Right. It points to these very ancient cyclical ideas about fertility and rebirth involving the sun god and a mother goddess figure. Very deep stuff.
And we have to mention Apep again, the chaos serpent. Their battle was constant.
The eternal struggle. Apep represents a set, chaos, always trying to swallow the sun, always being fought off. It's the cosmic explanation for night and the ever-present threat of disorder.
What about the story with Isis, where she tricks Ra?
Oh, yes. Isis creates a serpent to poison Ra so he'll reveal his secret true name. By learning it, she gains immense power, which she passes to her son Horus, bolstering his claim to the throne. It shows Ra isn't infallible, he can be outsmarted.
It's also interesting how Ptah, the creator god from Memphis, is kind of absent from the really early texts about Ra.
Yeah, that's likely due to the source of those texts, the priests at Heliopolis, Ra's center. They naturally emphasized their god over the rival creator god from Memphis. It shows how local loyalties could shape the mythology we see.
So underneath all these specific stories and forms, Ra's fundamental job was maintaining Ma'at, cosmic order.
That's the core function. Battling chaos, ensuring the sun rises, keeping the cycles going. Even the myth where Ra gets old, punishes humanity with his eye, then retreats to the sky, leaving Horus in charge. It's all about the transitions and maintenance of divine order, both in the cosmos and on Earth.
So even though the temples eventually closed, Ra's influence didn't just evaporate.
Not at all. That core reverence for the sun, for its life-giving power, was just too deep in the Egyptian psyche. The idea endured.
And his imagery is just everywhere in what survived.
You see it woven into everything. The massive scale of the temples and pyramids, the hieroglyphs telling their stories, the paintings in the tombs designed to guide the dead through Ra's nightly journey, the sun disk, the falcon. It's iconic.
And the concepts he represents, cycles, order versus chaos, light and dark, those feel timeless.
They absolutely are. Universal themes that resonate far beyond ancient Egypt.
And you always get that feeling, don't you? That there might still be more to find. Lost texts, hidden tombs, more secrets about Ra waiting under the sand.
It definitely feels like an ongoing discovery. The deep dive into Ra isn't necessarily finished.
It really isn't. So we've journeyed from Ra's mysterious birth, from chaos to his daily cosmic voyage battling Apep. We've looked at his role as creator, his many faces, and that critical bond with the pharaohs.
Understanding Ra really is key. It unlocks so much about the ancient Egyptian worldview, their core beliefs, what mattered most to them.
Definitely. And as we wrap up, here's a final thought to maybe chew on. Think about that image of Ra's constant daily battle against Apep, the serpent of chaos. What does that ancient Egyptian idea tell us about how you perceive order and disruption in your own world? Is order just the default state, or does it, like Ra's journey, require continuous effort, vigilance, a kind of daily battle against the forces pulling things apart?
A really interesting question, connecting their ancient cosmos to our modern lives.
Thank you for joining us on this deep dive into the world of the Sun King. We hope it sheds some light on this fascinating figure for you.